somebody saw my glass and full of clear liquid, and they're like, "Hey, man, that's only water." And I told him, "You're right." Drinking a glass the size of vodka is irresponsible, you ninnies.
Try to do something about that check liver light.
Yeah, I think I've got it under control. The easiest way to fix a check engine light or a check liver light is to go and disconnect it.
The light, you mean?
Yeah, the light. You just go and disconnect the light, and everything is just peachy.
Because disconnecting the engine, that would result in something not good.
Result in Flintstones mode, which would also probably fix our obesity epidemic. From now on, disconnect your engine and travel safely on foot. All right, that's the episode for this week. Thank you for joining us as we insult people and mainly insult your intelligence. Wait a minute. Speaking of segues, I've already not had a good segue in weeks, but let's just talk about censorship. There's an article here on usnews.com called The New Censorship, and it's worth chewing on, even though it's obviously written by someone who's not that technical. But still, it's talking about how Google, quote-unquote, censors the internet. Now, first off, what's going on? There's auto-playing ads. Oh, my God. Wendell, I really feel compelled to buy a Lazy Boy chair now because an ad auto-played.
I wish Google would censor the autoplay ads. That'd be amazing.
How would they make money? So I guess Google, as a curator for the web and as a curator for all things search, and as a company who can do kind of whatever they want, they're being called out here as the new censor. Now, first off, Google, they're privately, I guess they're a publicly owned company, but I mean, they're a private company. They're not like a government entity or anything like that. Are they responsible in any way to the people as far as, being a good steward, or should we really hold them to a standard of like, hey, you guys have to just put the internet out there? I mean, it's their search algorithm. It's their platform. Should they be responsible to sort of foster free speech and not censor or not reorganize things? Because that's the thing I'm on the fence about. I think it's them being a bad steward when they delete things from the search, and them being a bad steward when they, rearrange search terms, for instance, so that, Hillary Clinton comes up when you do a search for a different politician like Trump or Sanders or something like that. I don't know if they're doing that, but that's what a lot of people have been screaming in various online things. Oh, God, they're rearranging search terms to favor their favorite politicians and that sort of thing. But do you think it's even their responsibility to do this since they're not a government entity? What do you think, Wendell?
So this kind of thing it's always hard to talk about because, clearly Google has not always behaved perfectly consistently with any of this stuff. And really this article is not talking about censorship in the way that you normally would, like you're thinking, Orwellian even censorship, traditional censorship. It is slightly more Orwellian in that they will kind of memory hole certain terms, and certain kinds of search results will not be there, and certain kinds of advertising you're not allowed to do, and certain kinds of Google Plus profiles you can't be there, and certain kinds of YouTube content you can't be there. And these are just all these disparate Google services. And so it's hard. If you think about it in the context of Google, it's like, is Google sort of the gatekeeper of the internet? And I think about it, and in some ways, yes, some ways, no. And so I think that it would have to be a little bit more far-reaching, or that people so the solution for this is to just explain to people that Google is not the internet, and the problem sort of goes away. And so when I'm thinking about it in that context, it's like, oh, Google is not the internet. That makes sense. Because if you go down this road, it seems like the next logical step would be, hey, Google's algorithm was tweaked, and I was getting a lot of traffic on my online store, and I was making a lot of money from sales from that traffic on my online store. Google tweaked their algorithm, and now I'm no longer getting as much traffic from Google's algorithm, and I think that's a mistake or an oversight, or they changed it. Their change is costing me money, at least in the American system. It's like, that's grounds for a lawsuit, and so I don't think the rest of society is quite as litigious. But you start to think about things in those terms, and it's like, well, maybe this is an overreaction. Maybe this is a journalist looking at this. And I try to think about historical context. And so Everybody remember America Online? At one time, America Online was the world's largest ISP. And they didn't carry everything. They didn't carry the whole internet. And certainly you couldn't get to explicit material and things like that on AOL. But was AOL, censoring explicit material? Yeah, absolutely. At least according to the way that the term is used in this article. And so it's like, I think the solution here is Google is not the internet. There are other search engines. There are other websites that you can use. There are other ways that you can make money for advertising. And so I mean, I would love to have a good cogent counter argument, and I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of them in the comments, but this seems kind of like I guess if Google actually really did control the market, and they do, I mean, I'm not disputing that they have a substantial part of the market, but Google's not the internet.
I think one of the things that you just say Google's not the internet, and to us it might not be, but to a lot of people, Google kind of is the internet, because whenever they go to anything, I mean, there's a lot of people who will go, you tell them, hey, my website is techsyndicate.com, go check it out, and they'll go, and instead of going to the URL
type
bar,
that in Google.
Yeah, they'll type techsyndicate.com into the Google search bar.
Oh, murder me! But
that's just how things have come. I mean, how that's just where we've come to. I mean, back when you and I were wee lads, and the internet was, AOL, and once you could get, open up Internet Explorer or Firefox, or what was it back then? It was Netscape Navigator. Once you could open that up and get on the regular web, then it was the Wild West, and you had to actually type in the different websites you wanted to go to. I mean, you could use any of the myriad of search engines, but none of them were mature enough yet that you had to rely on one. I would try InfoSeek, and then I would try AltaVista, and then I would try Google, and then I would try Yahoo, and just see what the different search terms were. But now Google kind of is becoming just what people think of as the internet. And that is
we're on AOL, keyword clown fart. Yeah, I remember those days. Those days were not fun days.
You've got death.
Yeah. The internet has come a long way. Maybe this is good. Maybe that more people are cognizant of this. They'll realize that AOL is not the internet, because we really had a renaissance when the unwashed masses realized that AOL was not the internet. Maybe we'll have a similar renaissance when the unwashed masses realize that Google is not the internet.
And maybe we can help with that, because for the last 7 or 8 months I've been thinking, it'd be an interesting documentary just to show where the internet started and how now it's basically curated by companies like Google and Facebook. You have to go through them. They're now the gatekeepers of what is the internet. And a lot of that is our fault, because we've allowed it to be that way, because they're killing us with convenience. They're like, oh, just do this, and we've got everything taken care of for you, and we'll even rub your shoulders while you're doing it. And it's not creepy. While we're rubbing your shoulders, we're also going to be looking through your checkbook and your credit card statements so we can sell you stuff. But don't worry, we're just going to keep rubbing your shoulders and keep making everything easy. Oh, you want something? You want something to eat? Don't worry, we'll bring it right to you. Just push a couple buttons on Seamless, and it'll be right here. So I think that complacency is the virus that is killing us. Or maybe it's convenience. Complacency with convenience? Deadly.
Everybody should be a little cynical. It's really good for society.
It really is. All right, moving on here. What's next on the old list? Oh, this is kind of a fun article. It's just a video here from Reason TV about unregulated biohacking. You guys can go and check out the video. But this dude right here, let's see, bring him up. I forget if they put his name on the bottom of the screen or not. But anyway, he used to work at NASA. And then he decided to quit his job, and what he's doing now is selling a do-it-yourself-at-home $140 CRISPR kit. And I'm sure if you guys have seen the show, you know what CRISPR is. It allows you to go in there and basically mess with DNA. And he's doing some interesting things where he's playing with yeast proteins to make better beer and stuff like that. But he said there's any number of things you can do. And one of the reasons he wanted to do this is because, like, a lot of times there's like the big pharmaceutical companies and then the government agencies and then the religious people. They're always like fighting over, this is not ethical, this is not going to be good for our bottom line, this is the X, Y, Z. There's all these things. But he was like, what if we take this and give the power to the masses by selling them $140 do it at home type kit for people to play around with DNA? What could happen? Could people start curing diseases at home? How long until this gets regulated? Because right now it's unregulated, and it's basically unregulated biohacking. This is a pretty interesting video. I would recommend you guys take a look at it. I'm not sure how much faith I have in the dude doing it, just because he comes off as being a bit flamboyant. But you never know. Sometimes flamboyant people get a lot of stuff done because they turn heads and get headline and make headlines. So who knows? You going to get a CRISPR kit, Wendell?
Perhaps, perhaps a bioscientist in the audience can educate us a little bit. But it seems like it would be like, with my luck, I would accidentally weaponize the common cold, and it would be like in that video game where you engineer things, and it's like, wow, that was super effective. I killed 93.7% of the world's population. Whoops.
Oh man, who's going to make your sandwich then? I think I'm going to be working on Green Tentacle. It's exactly what I've been wanting, and it's not the Japanese thing. If you guys haven't played old retro games from LucasArts, you need to go back and play Day of the Tentacle. Nothing to do with Japanese anime. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to be trying to create Green Tentacle. Do we have any toxic slime we can feed him?
One wrong move with the CRISPR, and you're going to end up with Purple Tentacle. I mean, that's the whole point of this thing is, you're just one base pair away from Purple Tentacle if you end up with, if you're working toward Green Tentacle. I mean, that's how crazy this is.
The world. All right. That's another interesting thing we could talk about. Maybe we could figure out where this guy lives and go meet him. And I don't know what I would do with a do-it-yourself-at-home kit, but I don't know. Could be interesting. Sorry, guys. It's 900,000 degrees in this room. There ain't no AC around here.
I wonder if anybody that's into the the newly legal marijuana scene in like Colorado will order one of these things and start making weapons grade marijuana or something.
Not sedentary enough. We need weapons grade marijuana to make them locked to their couch forever and ever. Just drop it on. Just what we'll do. We're gonna just nuke the entire Middle East with like a freaking miasma of THC, and everybody will be like, "Whoa, man, war sucks." Yeah, dude. Nice sandals. Have you always had those?
There's this famous experiment where they wired electrodes into the brains of monkeys, like the pleasure center in monkeys' brains, and the monkey society basically completely collapsed, and the monkeys just sat there pressing their button all day long. And so, if we end up with weapons grade recreational drugs, it's probably not going to be good for productivity.
Sounds like Vermont with a heroin problem right now. All right, let's take a look at what Mark Zuckerberg does to his web camera. This is hilarious because Mark Zuckerberg is probably the individual responsible for the most hoovering of data in the history of the universe, because he's an individual.
He's the guy that runs Facebook.
Yeah, and maybe if we could blame Google or any one person at Google, they might be more responsible. But Mark Zuckerberg is the head of the Facebook dragon, so it's kind of interesting when we find out that he covers up his microphone and his webcam on his laptop. There's a little picture here, and if you zoom in close, dun dun dun, camera covered with tape, mic jack covered with tape, email client is Thunderbird. That's kind of interesting that he's. Yes. I don't even have anything to say about that. Email client is Thunderbird on his laptop. Wow.
Thunderbird's not bad.
I know. I mean,
you can do a lot with Thunderbird.
But it's just interesting that he's not using like a Microsoft product or something like that, like Outlook. Or I mean, you figure a big company like that, he would be using Outlook. I mean, Thunderbird's fine. EM client is fine. There's a lot of good clients out there. But yeah, I don't know. What do you make of this?
I think they started using Macs and Linux internally a lot at Facebook, kind of like Google. Google's a lot of Macs and a lot of Linux PCs, not a lot of Windows PCs.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know what you guys make of this in the comments. I just think it's kind of ironic, but I mean, really, he is CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and if anyone was to spy on him and get his secrets, he's probably doing it for that reason rather than the governmental reasons and all that kind of stuff. Or he probably doesn't. I'm not sure if he cares about people, looking at his marketing data. But for someone like him, a little paranoia might be healthy because other people can hear him while he's doing his Skype calls and stuff. Or I guess he probably doesn't use Skype. I don't know. He probably uses whatever the Facebook chat program is that I've never used. Yeah. So our buddy Mitch McConnell here. What is this stupid advertisement? Get out of here. I need to install ad block or something. Go away, you bastard. All right, I'll install ad block later. Anyway, so Mitch McConnell here is heading up a bunch of guys who want the FBI to be able to look through your web browsing history and basically all your online history without any sorts of warrants or they don't even need to notify you. But this failed by a vote of 1. and it'll be coming back around because I'm sure Mitch McConnell is going to be twisting some arms and maybe even pulling some arms off because he's the Senate Majority Leader. How did Mitch McConnell? The people of Kentucky, do they just hate America, or is it Mitch McConnell tricking the people of Kentucky? Why did they vote him in there?
I have no idea. This is really, well, he switched his vote to no to allow reconsideration in the near future. And so it's like, oh, this isn't going to pass. Let's vote again. Okay. Right. You know, with Britain's exit from the EU, it's like, oh, that wasn't the result we wanted. Let's vote again. And let's make sure that we threaten the people that didn't vote the way that we wanted. It's kind of how that reads. And it's like, wait a minute, is that really how government works now? It's like, oh, we didn't get what we want. We're going to threaten the people that voted against us because they were close.
That's kind of how Mitch McConnell works.
And one vote and the FBI would be able to get browser histories without a court order. It's our own Snoopers Charter in America, which didn't Snoopers Charter pass in the UK? Sorry, guys. It's not good.
So we even talk about the UK and their whole leaving the EU.
It's not really a tech thing, but yeah, Brexit's sort of big news right now. All the technology news is kind of overshadowed by Brexit. But hey, we've talked about David Cameron before, and David Cameron is resigning to give quote unquote fresh leadership a chance to do things. And of course, Obama has been like, well, because you're leaving, we're going to shuffle you to the back in trade deals. And it's like, what does that even mean? I mean, what are you doing?
I mean, David Cameron leaving, I'm not sure if that's going to be a good thing for internet freedom because you never know who's going to fill the void. You know, it could be like, hey, Cthulhu's gone, but now we've got, something even worse. Look at this abomination. Hey, enjoy. Enjoy your new abomination.
Well, it was a pretty divided vote. I think it was Northern Ireland and Scotland that voted to stay, and Britain and Wales that voted to leave. And that's really surprising. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because the Scots and the English are natural enemies. And, the Scots and the Japanese, Scots and other Scots when it really comes down to it.
The Scots and whoever gets in their way when they're having a pint.
So, I don't know. But the Welsh voting to leave really surprises me because I was under the understanding that Wales got a lot of money from the EU and subsidies, and like the EU stuff was generally of benefit there. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what impact it's going to have on the technology sector. Certainly, it's having a big impact on financial markets. But it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up with technology companies.
It does kind of go with their motto of "Oh Welsh," So if they're feeling sheepish,
will my pets need a passport to go to Northern Ireland? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. No.
Hey, the store. How about that? Dennis Ritchie. Only a few more days to grab the shirt of the month, and I think it's freaking awesome. This is one of my favorite shirts of the month we've had, and there's, like I said, there's secrets in that ASCII. Some people try to hide their ASCII, and we've done a good job of hiding our ASCII too. But there's some parser code over here on the side from, if you don't know who he is, Dennis Ritchie created C, and he worked together with my brains.
Thompson.
Ken Thompson. Yeah, Kim Thompson. He worked together with Kim Thompson to build Unix, which now the entire universe is, that created an entire universe that we all live in. So there he is.
Yep.
It's good to remember him.
Fantastically intelligent guy.
Yep. And one of my favorite shirts of the month. Pick it up if I see you guys in public with it. I'll buy you a pack of gum. I don't even chew gum. Do you guys chew gum? What a nasty habit. I will fund your nasty masticating habit. You sinner. God, that went wrong. What else is cool in the store right now? I'm really loving this mug. It's a lot bigger than our old mug. It's made out of glass. Look at that. Oh, isn't that pretty? That's pretty. So you can have more coffee in there. Let us know what else you guys want in the store. And I think it's about time to... Yeah, I'm going to do this. Let's put another post on the website. A fresh forum post for everybody. Get all your artistic juices flowing because I'm going to start looking for some new designs from the audience. And if we use your design, I'll throw you $100. There's going to be a link in the description that says, hey, submit your t-shirt ideas or designs here. If you're not an artist, you can do like a freaking pencil, really terrible like drawing. If we don't end up using your original artwork, I'll probably be able to give you $50, but I'll have to go hire an artist to draw your idea, your terribly drawn idea. But hey, it's fun, and you'll get an item in the store that you're like, hey, I came up with this. We can do like one-liners about Linux. We can do homages to old video games. We can do stuff about Tech Syndicate. We can do stuff about Linux with the Penguin. We can do. You think of something. Think of some people who have inspired you in the past. Think of some inside jokes, some puns, whatever you want to come up with, or just some really cool nerdy artwork that's maybe not even 100% related to the content we do, because those do well as well. Do well as well? That's well. All well. Oh, Welsh. All right.
There were a lot of people last time that were clamoring for the Games for Windows Live makes Origin look like Steam, but somebody came up with one even better, and that was Games for Windows Live makes Uplay look like Steam. Nice.
I think Origin has more of a brand recognition than Uplay, because Uplay is so bad that people are just like, yeah, it's not even a thing. It's not even a thing. But yeah, we probably need to make that shirt. I wonder if we could do some artwork for it. I'm not really artistic. Should we put like a logo or something on that? Because I was playing around with some ideas. With that.
I think
just the words.
I think we could do the text. Like just do this like Games for Windows Live, really big, like a poster, like Keep Calm and Games for Windows Live on, but not that at all. But it's like Games for Windows Live. Making Steam, making Origin look like Steam since 2016 or whatever.
Nice. We might have to do that. All right, so that's that, guys. Thanks to all you guys who have supported us on the store. It is what's keeping us alive until the new office is finished. We're actually not allowed in the office right now because they're building it, which is finally happening. Oh my God! If we had unlimited fun,
using dangerous chemicals.
Yes, we're not allowed in there because they are actually using dangerous chemicals on the terrazzo floors so they can put down new floors. I don't know. You know what's funny? When you look back at all this stuff and people are like, why is it taking so long to get into the office? Well, I'll remind you guys, we didn't do any crowdfunding for this new office. We've got several different employees, and then they all have to eat and have houses and all that sort of stuff as well. So the funds for the office are very limited. If we did crowdfunding, it might have been easier to just get in the doors, because it turns out that when you have a big chunk of money, it's much easier to get things done quickly. So right now we have not a big chunk of money, so we can get decent quality stuff, but it's just going to take a long time. And that's the easiest way to understand it. You can have, money, speed, and quality. Pick two. So we don't have any money, so we...
So what you're saying is we're
second,
only going to be able to decorate our walls... Wait, what? No. What you're saying is we're only going to be able to use the $70 8-core Xeons to paper the wall, and not the $1,500 Core i7 6950Xs.
Correct, yes. Oh, my 20-core Xeon came in, speaking of that. It came in from Hong Kong, and get this, Swindle. They shipped this thing wrapped in this, essentially. It was literally wrapped in, it's not even this is a paper towel. It was literally wrapped in, a roll of toilet paper and shoved into a box. Just with no plastic, no anti-static, anything, just, there you go. Here's your 20-core CPU, enjoy. So hopefully that works. The 12-core worked just fine. So, yeah. So Netflix prices, they keep rising, and Netflix is, I guess somewhere they mentioned maybe we'll do some ads or something like that, but 74% of the subscribers said they would cancel the subscription rather than see ads. And I mean, right now with the difficulty it is to get content on Netflix because of all the nonsense with the studios and the licensing and the global rights in all the different markets and that sort of thing. I mean, basically, why as you travel the world and open up Netflix, it's like there's a different library everywhere. So that is already a negative thing for people who are involved. And every day this feels like there's more and more shows coming off. And now it's like we have to raise prices because of Comcast and all these other companies who are charging us money, on top of the money that we're already paying for our service. It's just, they're feeling the squeeze a little bit. So they have raised prices for everyone up to $10 a month for the streaming service. And now it's like, people are just not ready or not willing to pay to keep their subscription if there's ads.
Here's a question for the audience. Is this a symptom of younger generations being more protective of their time? As in, don't waste my time. I don't have time for this BS. I don't have time to deal with your ads. I don't have time to deal with this noise pollution or this cognitive pollution or whatever you want to call it. Because I find that with dealing with those kind of ads and dealing with ads in video and dealing with ads on the page, it contributes to the cognitive load in a negative way that I do not like. And so I think that the advertising industry may be in for bad news if this traditional type of wacky wailing inflatable arm man advertising is not only going to be no longer effective, but because everybody's working so hard and so focused on processing information that these things that add noise to the information stream are not only intolerable, but they must be actively destroyed. And so is this survey indicative of that, would be my question for the audience.
You guys remember that giant $1.2 billion antitrust fine that happened over in the EU, levied against Intel because Intel...
Of course you don't.
Well, some of you...
American media cover this? No, I don't think so.
So
Global media cover this? Nope.
Let's break it down quickly. So what happened? Intel was paying off some of the big vendors and stores and that sort of thing to either favor their CPUs, primarily use their CPUs, or only use their CPUs, or even do things like release AMD's products late. Just general, antitrust stuff that you do when you're that big and have and just hate competition. So
this was during the Athlon X2 days, when the Athlon X2 was actually really amazing. It was so good that Intel had to quote unquote pull out all the stops, and they were found guilty by a European Union commission in a probe, and they were fined $1.2 billion US. Yeah, and this has been in the court system in the EU for the better part of a decade. And so there's some news articles here that Intel is still fighting it tooth and nail. So Intel behaved anti-competitively and basically got off scot-free because, here we are 10 years later. The rest is history with AMD. But AMD had a better product to the extent that Intel felt like they had to do this kind of shenanigans. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened here in America for this kind of stuff, even though the same kind of stuff was going on. But in the EU, it was like, this is not good for competition. Let's fine them $1 billion. And Intel's like, let's fight it.
So Intel's finally, there's no court date being set, but they're finally somehow got like an appeal or whatever. And the interesting thing here is, and their argument is like, okay, yeah, we did this crap. But listen, there's no proof anywhere that this actually hurt competition. So that's kind of their angle, is that, there's not really, you guys didn't really prove that it really, it hurt competition. I mean, nobody was going to buy AMD anyway, right? I mean, especially not when the FX chip came out. Remember that thing? Who wanted to buy that crap? Well, everybody, because it was the best thing for productivity and gaming and that price point. I mean, the FX chip was the god chip at that point in time. Was like, whoa, the Athlon 64 FX, whoa. So, and that came out right around that time too, just after the Athlon X2. So I don't think
those
that
chips were amazing. They were really amazing.
I don't think their argument's going to stand. I don't see how it can, because it's like paying off people to not sell AMD products, making vendors not carry AMD products. How could that possibly hurt competition? I don't know. I just don't know. So they're going to have to really prove that no one wanted to buy an AMD.
Intel would really like for everybody to forget about this and pretend that nothing happened. Which, it's been so long. If they keep this in the court system much longer, everybody that was there will have died.
You remember that?
10 years. 10 years in computer scale is like 1,000 years in regular scale because, technology moves so fast.
Supercomputer we talked about in China, and I guess it was a while back that China said, hey, we're going to build a 100 petaflop computer. And they were probably going to be using like either some Xeon Phi cards or whatever. Xeon Phi, is it Xeon Phi or Xeon Phi? I don't know. I've never used one of those things, but maybe I should. Anyway, a lot of companies in the U.S. and the USA kind of like tried to block their progress by like sort of saying like, hey, we don't want you using like American stuff. So sure enough, China was like, okay, fine, we'll do it ourselves. And now it could be right around the corner. They're using non-American parts. So from companies that are non-America, they're using, what's it called? It's in here somewhere. The Mars ARM processor and, where it's in here somewhere, right? I'm going to highlight it on the screen. There we go.
The Mars ARM-based processors were, that company was founded in August of 2012. And the 100 petaflops peak and 80 petaflops Linpack was their targets, because the original design for this thing was using Xeon CPUs and Xeon Phi. So
that'll be interesting. And then right as soon as this was announced, right, like a couple of days later, IBM's like, oh well, we've got a 200 petaflop computer. It'll be out in 2018, and it's going to be using Intel. Yeah, what about that? So that's just right
I
hot off
suppose
the press.
IBM's not touting a supercomputer that's using their new power architecture, but oh well.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, it is going to be using their new power architecture, but I believe it's going to be using the Xeon Phi add-in cards. So, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be using,
okay.
yeah, it's going to be, let's see, where is it? It'll be using multiple IBM Power 9s. And then,
Okay, there we go.
And then NVIDIA Volta GPUs, and I'm not sure where the Xeon Phis come in, but yeah. So, interesting. And it'll also need far fewer than their last generation. So, it's just a battle for who can have the biggest supercomputer. And then what are we going to do with it? Cure cancer? Nah. We'll make bombs or something. That's what we do. All right, what's next on the menu here? Self-flying camera. Anybody really care about this? It's kind of interesting, this hover camera.
There was one of these micro drones that won an Intel competition. Intel was like, see what kind of cool stuff you can come up with Edison. And the guy had a micro drone that would wrap around his wrist. And so he would just pick it up and throw it, and it would basically like reorient itself and look at him. And so you could do a selfie or whatever, and it actually worked out really well. And so I've seen this somewhere before. I think we might have covered this when it was in a prototype stage or something, because I remember the fans being protected on the thing. So
this could be an implication of future technology. Right now, it's got a small sensor and all that. Probably produces okay stuff. But imagine if we were able to produce a slightly bigger version of this with maybe a full frame sensor that could, shoot at nice shallow depth of field. Maybe pop a lens on there. Just give it something bigger. Because the technology that's interesting here is the fact that it can follow your face as it's hovering. Possibly, I know some of the bigger hover cams can probably do that, but this one seems really steady. So if it can follow your face and be really steady, just imagine in the future when they're making films, they can just be like, hey, have this thing follow the actors as they walk around a corner or whatever. Just have this thing like follow them. And that could be an interesting way to get some nice smooth shots, and also do some of those really difficult shots where you have like someone fist fighting on the ground level or talking on the ground level, and have it fly up into a window and go inside the window and follow another actor as they come down the stairs and then come outside. Or just a lot of interesting things you could do with this kind of technology. And I'd say in the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, as drones and stuff like that starts to become more intelligent and also just better quality, we may end up seeing some of these things being used in films to make more dynamic shots and that sort of thing. So I like to look at the future implications for that in that way.
Drones this lightweight don't work that great outside for steadying because they can't compete with the wind. The wind just sort of carries them, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do anything about that."
Right,
but heavier
to be
drones,
heavier, yeah.
Strap about 50 pounds of batteries to this thing and kick up the motors a little bit, and outside it'll be fine.
Yeah, the only thing you'll have to contend with then is the noise generated from the fans and that sort of thing, which you'll be running separate audio anyway, and it probably won't be good for shots where you have quiet dialogue scenes and that sort of thing. You'll just do standard style stuff, unless you want to do,
What are you talking about? A romance movie where you get like really close in with the actors and they're like going in for the kiss, and it's just like, the whole 9 yards? That'll be amazing.
Have to set it's all about the setting. If you just can do something where like, hey, this movie is set in a some sort of a strange factory that makes things that spin very fast, and that's it. There you go. Always that background sound.
It would be amazing. It's like it's like somebody's leaning over toward like Gwyneth Paltrow or whatever, and then the drone gets caught in her hair.
YouTube sensation. Speaking of,
Sorry.
Let's talk about Stephen Hawking's plan to blast a tiny spaceship about the size of a postage stamp. Doesn't that sound crazy? This is probably more than we can chew on right now because you got to run. But Stephen Hawking has said that we need way too much energy to send something to even Andromeda, which is like 4-point-something light years away. So it just will require more energy than we've ever even heard of to be able to send a spacecraft there within a reasonable amount of time. We're talking like 20 years. So what he's saying is maybe we could get several gigawatts worth of lasers, maybe a big laser bank array, create a tiny, we're talking like postage stamp size spacecraft. Because, as things get smaller and smaller and smaller, we'll be able to fit a bunch of technology, maybe a camera, some sensors and that sort of thing onto a tiny postage stamp. Then we throw that thing into space and blast it with lasers. And it can make it to Andromeda in about 20 years. It's kind of
that'd be cool if we keep lasers trained on it. It's actually kind of genius.
Yeah. Who'd have thunk? Stephen Hawking, something genius coming from him every day.
He thinks of everything. That bastard.
So it's also kind of sexy because it's him, and he's got a bunch of technology billionaires involved in the talkings of this, and it's just some interesting stuff. So yeah. All right, moving right along here. Let's talk about some video games. I wanted to mention this is probably some of your guys' new favorite game, this Japanese PS4 game with the best. Oh no, this is a damn. Where did my all my extensions just got it removed? Ad block is gone. Why is this happening? But this game here. So these dating games, right? I guess that they're a big thing over in Japan because real dating is kind of lame over there. I don't know. Anyway, I just want to read you guys the title of this game. Summertime high school. A young man's notes how a new exchange student like myself ran into his childhood friend on the school tour, then for some reason became super popular with the girls for his daily scoops on the school photography club, even though he only takes panty shots, and what he thinks as... What is this?
Combine the right things, and something amazing happens. That's our inspiration
Seriously?
for Fancy Feast medleys.
Oh my
Wild
God, I've got
Salmon
autoplay ads.
Primavera.
Make
Fancy
it stop.
Feast
I don't even
medleys.
know where it's coming from. You know what? Screw this article. Video game news. Hotline Miami 2 level editor is live, no longer in beta. I cannot wait to see what some of you guys come up with in the as far as Hotline Miami 2 levels go, extra levels. So send me your favorite levels. If you got a level that's like ridiculously amazing, I'd be happy to throw a ridiculous song. I'm working on some sort of cyberpunky 80s style songs. I'll be happy to throw you guys a song if the level's amazing. So go ahead and post it on our forum and just tag, at Logan on the forum, and I'll take a look at your level. I love playing new levels. The more ridiculous, the better. That's my mantra as far as the levels go. The more ridiculous, and if the level requires too much gunplay or forces gunplay, like some of the levels in Hotline Miami 2, I won't be that interested. I like stuff that you can do gunplay and melee. So throw some of that on the forum. Have you played Hotline Miami 2 yet, Wendell? Or 1 even?
I have not. I have not actually played that yet.
Well, if you ever feel like cursing for several hours on end, I recommend it. If you ever feel that way.
That's funny.
A couple more articles here. First off, good news from Microsoft. They say that they will use Steam to sell their Windows games and not just their own store. And that's what they're saying right now. And we'll see what they say after
They
everything.
are beginning to realize how awful Games for Windows Live really is.
I'm wondering
Crap,
if,
guys, we can't fix this.
I'm wondering if they're going to allow you to use Steam but then force you to connect through their own thing. I don't know. Or possibly the other thing that I'm thinking,
Yes.
they're also thinking like, hey, if we don't put our game on Steam, we're going to lose 85% of the sales. That's just what's going to happen. Because even though people have a PC, it's like they're so unwilling to jump into the Windows platform or the Windows Games platform or whatever the hell they're calling it now that it's an app in the bubbly section of Windows that we do not go to. But yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to force you to connect through, do the dual connect thing or the dual DRM thing. And then I wonder if they're going to also force you to do all upgrades and mods and everything like that through their platform. Because I can see this as a way where they're like, we hook them through Steam, guys. This is their creepy eyebrows. Yeah, let me get, we hook them through Steam. And who has this voice? There's someone who has the snaky, weird voice at Intel. I know who you are. I mean, at Microsoft, I know who you are. And then after we hook them through Steam, then we make them go to our platform and do all the dirty work. And then we get them for life. And we make it so that they can never leave. And then we come to their house and put implants in their head while they're asleep. I'm like, very good, yes.
I think we've got to thank that guy. We all of us owe that guy inside of Microsoft. He's actually kind of a good guy in disguise because that's the guy that Gabe met when he went to Microsoft years ago. And that is why Gabe has put so much money and resources into getting games on Linux being better. That guy.
We love that guy and his funny voice. All right, last article. Clash of Clans. They just sold I guess the game company who makes Clash of Clans, which is a mobile game that I have not played, but apparently 10% of the mobile market plays this game. That's huge when you consider how big the mobile market is, way bigger than the console market. I mean, how many people have a phone nowadays? There are more phones than humans. I mean, they're everywhere. So yeah, they just sold for $10.2 billion. Now, to put that into perspective, let's look at some of these other things. Minecraft sold for $2.5 billion to Microsoft. That's Mojang, Minecraft. Okay. YouTube and Lucasfilm. It sold for more than the combined sum of YouTube and Lucasfilm. It sold more than the combined sum of Mojang and Oculus to Facebook. Either Microsoft and Facebook. But like that's to put that into perspective. So we're going to start seeing more of these games come out of China, like the mobile apps and that sort of thing. And I don't know, how casual is this game? Because mobile gaming is growing, and I'm of two minds of this, and I'll tell you how I feel. I feel like it's just seeing gaming grow in general is good. We're going to see a lot more swill in terms of just developers trying to cash in on this kind of crap. Just like, hey, we need to make a penny. Let's make a cheap ripoff of some of these successful Android games, Candy Crush and Clash of Clans or whatever, and just try to cash in on that. There's going to be a lot of that, but also at the same time, just the bigger the gaming market, the more room there is for different developers. Maybe a developer is going to cut his teeth on some ridiculously cheesy game like this, and then learn that, hey, man, I got some nice developing chops. I got a mind of my own, too. I don't need this money. I'm going to go make an indie game. So it could lead down the road to just more developers making more games. And as long as we have people out there to help us sift through the BS, and, online forums are a great way. Online, user reviews and that stuff, it's a great way. It's kind of weird when a lot of people complain about there being too many games, and it's just, God, there's just too many indie games. Oh, there's too many early access games. There's too many games. That's always a weird stance for me, because I feel like the more games we have, possibly the better. And come up with an argument for the other side of that. I'd like to hear why we should have fewer games. Why? Maybe in a world where there's no curation and there's no user reviews and there's no forums, it'd be difficult to sift through all that on your own. But we've got help, and there's genres that we can look at. We know what we like. I like this genre. I like turn-based first-person strategy. Are there any games like that? I don't know.
I don't understand this kind of valuation for a game company, because
that's another thing. Yeah.
If you have this kind of valuation, the game company is more or less a sausage factory, except instead of making sausage, they're making games, because they just want to have more and more and more people, and that's sort of what you do. I mean, this would be like, at the height of Angry Birds, buying the Angry Birds company for like $2 billion. And it's like, has anybody heard of Angry Birds? I think there's like an Angry Birds movie coming out. Whatever. Big deal. It's like, we've got 4 games and 100 million users. Okay, but, is your company set up structurally to be a sausage factory for making those kind of games that you can corner the market on all different kinds of games and get some good concepts for games and really crank those out? Because other studios, I think there are other sort of game studios that are really good at coming up with clever, interesting game mechanics and really original stuff that would probably be worth more in that genre versus this type of thing. If they've got the most amazing dream team, execution team, and they can get, spend another 100 million on getting the talent for those really original ideas, and there's somebody that's going to combine both of those things, then maybe if you've got $10 billion to spend on this. But I really don't get this kind of valuation. I really don't get what would make this team so special that it needs $10 billion, unless they plan to use those games as a platform or something else for those 100 million users. But as soon as you start tinkering with the platform, all those people are going to be gone. Unless it turns into something like Twitter. Twitter's not cash flow positive at all. It's just that everybody that's invested in Twitter is like, well, all these people are here. Surely that's going to be worth something. So maybe people are looking at this and saying, well, there's 100 million people here. It's got to be worth something.
Yeah, it's more than 100 million. I think it's what they said, 100 million active users a day or something. I don't even know, some ridiculous thing. But if you step back and look at these numbers here, so they're doing 2.3 billion a year. So the price is only 4 times the revenue of yearly revenue of the company. When you look at LinkedIn or something, $26 billion is what it sold for. Their revenue is around what is it, around $3 billion a year. So their price was 8.5 times their yearly revenue.
Yeah, but it's flavor of the month. I mean, you're taking a very tiny snapshot and being like, we can turn this into a real company. But if you do that with Angry Birds, it's like nothing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whatever. Nothing.
I guess we could take a look at Zynga and see what happened to them. Remember?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly that follows the model of okay, yeah, this is really cool. And then they start fiddling with things, and then all of a sudden they're gone and not relevant anymore. I mean, it's really easy to accidentally crash the vapor point, and then poof, everything is gone.
All right, last thing I'm going to say here before we leave is thanks to all of our patrons. You guys are awesome. Keeping us like I said, alive. So, I'm not going to make any promises. New office is literally almost finished, but until then, I've got a backup set and a backup camera and a backup hairdo. This is a backup hairdo. It's not even my real hairdo.
Kane's been shooting a lot of videos on it if you want to see the progress, so you can check that out if you're curious. Because we promised we wouldn't have 50 redo Office videos, and so you have to like sort of back channel if you're into the 50 Office videos of, we moved the tile 6 inches today. We tried this other carpet tile. It's not as good as the first carpet tile. We're going to go back to the original carpet tile. We found a dead squirrel in the ceiling. If you want that, you're going to have to go find it.
Yeah, only the dedicated few are really into that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people just come here for the interesting content. I can't believe I just called it interesting. Anything goes in the internet these days.
Most people come here to watch us make fools of ourselves, so it's fine. Whatever. I don't care. Deal with it.
Every now and then we make a fool of somebody else while we're doing it. So, all right, guys. Say hi to us over on the forum. Subscribe. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, what's wrong with you? You don't make me come to your house and fill your booth with wasps, because I'll do it. And they're not going to be any regular wasps either. They're
as
going
an
to be
experiment,
like CRISPR wasps.
Just as an experiment, share this. Like, please, just, if you've made it this far into the video, share it with your friends. It's like, hey guys, these people are actually not complete assholes. They're kind of funny, and or interesting, or whatever. I don't care.
Whatever you say.
And share it and see, because we would kind of we would kind of like to see if asking you to share it does any kind of a blip or anything on the analytics or whatever, because we never ask. And you guys are probably getting bored of us anyway. It's fine.
That sounds so sad. I think that we attract a very I think we attract a very interesting type of audience member who gets this and they're like, I will have this to myself. This is my little thing. And they're also the same type who when something gets a little bit too big, they're like, this is mainstream now. Listen, guys, no matter how big we get, we're not going to be mainstream. If we wanted to be mainstream, I guarantee you I'm freaking smart enough to sell out and just spout a bunch of nonsense and maybe change up the stuff, use more marketable music, like, happier, brighter colors, softer camera, like effects and that sort of thing. I could do all that crap if I wanted to, but I don't want to because it's not what's inside my heart, man. I'm hippie. So
I was happy once. It was awful.
I want to do it. We want to do it the way we're going to do it, and this is how it's going to be. If somebody else doesn't like it, they can go deep throat a cactus. How about that? All right, we'll see you guys in the comments on the website.
And for those of you in Europe, we'll see you later.